Hello and welcome to the Medical Affairs Dialogues. Today we are diving into a very big topic. We are talking about how AI is transforming oncology, and we are also talking about how AI is changing the way we treat cancer, the way we fight with cancer. We will also explore what this means for the pharma companies, for the medical affairs teams, and most importantly, for our patients. My guest today and I, we have been talking about this topic for so long, and I'm so happy that finally we are having this conversation on this platform. My guest for this episode is Dr. Apeksha Patel. Welcome to this episode, Apeksha.
Thank you so much. Thrilled to be here with you today.
Yeah, let me introduce you first to my audience. Apeksha has 20 years of experience in pharma with three Fortune 500 companies. She has been in global leadership roles in clinical development, medical affairs, and regulatory affairs. She has been part of 10 drug launches across pharma and medical devices. She has been a medical lead for six pipeline drugs in immunology, virology, anti infectives, neuroscience, regenerative medicine, and oncology. She's passionate about patient centric trial designs and digital innovation in medical education. So, okay, with that, we dive into this conversation. Thank you, Apeksha, once again for being a part of this episode. Our topic for today is the AI revolution in oncology, shaping pharma's drug development, medical affairs, and patient outcomes. Before we go any further, I want to pause and Apeksha for my audience lay out your career journey. Tell us what were the challenges? How did you navigate through them?
Absolutely. So, my career journey, as you mentioned, started almost 2 decades ago. I was in direct patient care before I ventured into the pharmaceutical industry. And my guiding principle has really been that I've always believed that the true power of medicine lies in its infinite potential to transform lives. And the belief has shaped a career built across the entire arc of drug development, from preclinical translation to clinical development, medical affairs, and regulatory strategy in global and US markets. And I've worked at every junction where science meets decision making, driven by a purpose to really improve outcomes for patients sort of facing the most complex diseases. And as you mentioned, that journey has taken me through six different therapeutic areas, each adding sort of a depth to my understanding and sharpening my leadership. I've led and supported paradigm shifting breakthroughs, including the number one blockbuster drug in immunology, as we talk about, to one of the first curative treatments for hepatitis C. But really, what's most powerful is that circle of infinity this work creates when you have the entire experience in drug development. Every experience sort of feeds into the next, every insight builds momentum, and sort of every challenge becomes a catalyst for growth. And that's really what the power of infinity does to careers. It doesn't just build expertise, it builds vision. And when you lead with vision, you don't just launch drugs, you really ignite change. And I'll end by sharing a very personal story. If there's one thing I've learned in this journey, it's that the most transformative impact sort of in drug development doesn't come from just data or discovery alone. It really comes from people, from leaders who champion you when no one's watching to peers who really advocate for you behind closed doors. So about a year into my first role in pharma, I got engaged and I made the very personal decision to move from Chicago to Boston. It was a bold ask at the time. Remote work was nearly unheard of, especially in our industry. But I really had an angelic peer who really advocated for me and a very visionary leader in our industry who approved the move for me to work remotely. But it really came with a condition. And that meant I would forfeit any sort of career progression. And I was in my 20s. I was foolishly in love. And so I gladly accepted it. But what happened next really changed everything. That moment stripped away sort of the pressure to climb, to rank, to chase titles. Instead, I gained clarity and began playing that infinite game of impact. I focused on what truly mattered, advancing science, improving patient outcomes, and sort of building these teams that care. And over the years, I've really come to believe that when people champion each other, when we lead with intention, and when we focus on what truly matters, which is patients, progress, and possibility, we don't just change careers, we really change the future of medicine.
So beautifully put together. Wow. Okay. So let's dive into the curated list of questions that I have because I can't wait to discuss all this. We all like personalized medicine, but you and I, we know it requires interpreting complex data from genomics, imaging, clinical records. So, my question to you, and I think this will be the most appropriate way to set the context and the foundation of our discussion. The question is, in what ways is AI contributing to more personalized cancer treatment and better patient outcomes?
Yeah, such a great question. I want to start by sharing that what I believe is AI is not just a tool. It's really a mindset shift on how we understand and treat cancer. For decades, we've treated patients based on averages, just like you mentioned. But cancer, as you know, is not average. It's deeply personal. AI allows us to move from this like generalized protocols to like individualized care by integrating, as you mentioned, imaging, genomics, clinical data, and even real-time surgical feedback. It's really helping us see what we couldn't before: tumor markers, genetic vulnerabilities, treatment responses at a scale and speed that we've never seen before. And AI is not meant to replace human judgment. It's meant to elevate it. And we can unlock a future where every patient gets the right treatment at the right time, tailored to their unique biology. And that's not just innovation, that's real impact. And I wanted to really share with you some very specific examples on really how AI is contributing to more personalized cancer treatment. Because I think right now we do hear that it's changing, but I don't know if we really understood the depth of the change. But I'll start by sharing with you what we're seeing in imaging: sharper imaging, smarter diagnosis. As you know, deep learning, it really excels at interpreting medical images such as radiology scans and pathology slides. So, for example, AI image analysis models can really identify these tumor characteristics and biomarkers more reliably than any traditional methods. AI assisted image analysis can also boost this diagnostic consistency. So we get these consistencies in critical decisions. So I'd like to share with you an example. In non-small lung cancer, there was an AI tool for assessing PD-L1. As you know, that's an important biomarker for immunotherapy. It raised pathology's agreement rate from 81% to over 90% when determining the PD-L1 status. When we look at genomics at scale, cancer care is increasingly driven by molecular data. And so AI can really uncover these patterns in vast genomic data sets that humans might miss. I want to share with you another study, a landmark 2025 US SEED study. It used machine learning data for over 78,000 patients across 20 tumor types, identifying nearly 800 mutations and 95 genes linked to treatment outcomes. Now, these findings really help match patients to therapies. For example, showing how mutations like TP53 correlate with survival in response to chemo, targeted drugs, or immunotherapy. When we look at data-driven decisions, there was another study out from Germany, an AI tool that was trained on tens of thousands of cases that integrated labs, imaging, genomics, and the patient history to kind of guide the oncologist with personalized treatment plans. We're seeing precision in radiotherapy. AI automates tumor contouring and like optimizes the radiation dosing, matching sort of the expert level accuracy while sort of speeding up the planning. Smarter surgery, I spent quite a bit of time in surgery, and AI predicts these surgical risks pre-op. It guides the surgeons to real-time tumor margin detection during procedures, and that really reduces re-ops and improves outcomes overall. And then last but not least, drug discovery. AI is identifying novel cancer targets, designing new drugs and matching patients to therapies based on tumor genomics. There were models like the CNE's ResponseNet and the Graph CDR that match the patient to optimal drugs, including repurposed ones, that really shorten that bench to bedside timeline. So in these examples, ranging from like sharper imaging to genomic insights to smarter surgeries, accelerated drug discovery, these are not just technological milestones. They're real world advances that are improving survival rates, they're reducing side effects, giving patients more time and better quality of life. And I feel like this isn't just the future of oncology, it's actually happening right now. And it's changing what's possible for every patient, sort of one data point at a time.
I'm so excited hearing your response because I feel the same way. And I am so glad that somebody from the pharma side is also voicing the same, singing the same song. So this is so exciting. And coming from from you, will really, really go far. So my next question is, you had touched upon traditional drug development. So in traditional drug development, we know it's very slow, very expensive. Billions of dollars are spent on it. And we are saying that AI is being used to streamline target discovery and whatnot, right? So my question is, how is AI transforming the oncology drug development process? And are we truly seeing faster timelines from discovery to approval?
Oh, such a great question. So, as you mentioned, drug development is often seen sort of as a black box,
Yeah.
slow, complex, invisible to most, but it's one of the most awe-inspiring journeys we take in science. If I were to give an analogy, space exploration is sort of our voyage into the macrocosm. Drug development is our expedition into the microcosm, into that biology of disease, the architecture of healing. And now AI is accelerating that journey. We're seeing AI identify drug targets, optimize trial designs, and even predict patient responses with unprecedented speed. I wish we would really romanticize drug development like the way we do space exploration, but I digress. I'll give you very specific examples of what we're seeing in terms of the timeline. In silico medicine, that is using AI discovery drug targets. In June of 2023, they actually developed their first in-class antifibrotic small molecular inhibitor for the treatment of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. That drug reached phase 2, a milestone that typically, as you know, takes years. First time a fully AI discovered and AI designed drug reached this stage. Specifically, also in oncology, in silico medicine, the same company has some very notable examples, specifically in solid tumor cancers. There is a MAT2A inhibitor that entered phase 1 trials earlier this year, with the first patient being dosed in a global multi-center study. As of April this year, I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but the FDA is now phasing out certain animal testing in favor of AI and organoid models, aiming to get safer treatments to patients faster. So these aren't just sort of incremental gains, they're really paradigm shifts. And while we're still early in measuring the full cycle acceleration, to your question, I think the trajectory is very clear. AI is transforming oncology drug development, not just from like a linear process, but into more of a dynamic and adaptive system. And that means faster approvals, smarter science, and ultimately better outcomes for our patients. I feel confident that deployment of AI in each phase of drug development, if we have it in preclinical translation, clinical trial operations, site activation, clinical drug supply, pivotal study design, protocol development, medical education, external stakeholder management, and real world evidence, all of these aspects, I think with the right leadership and clear vision and execution, we will see the drug development process transform to faster approvals, getting us closer to these life-changing treatments.
This is so exciting. Thank you for sharing all this. Yeah, let's move on to the next question. We know that medical affairs now drives real world evidence, strategic HCP management, engagement, and scientific education. So, I want to know from you, how is AI reshaping the role of medical affairs and clinical development in oncology, specifically in these aspects? I want to know from the pharma lens, how are you dealing with evidence generation, medical education, HCP engagement when AI is all around?
Yeah. And I think the future of AI in medical affairs and clinical development is not something we're waiting for anymore. It's something we're actively shaping right now. I really want to emphasize that it's something that we as a community, a healthcare community, really have that responsibility to shape AI together. when you mentioned medical affairs and clinical development, these functions always have been sort of the heartbeat of translating evidence into care. And now AI is amplifying that rhythm. In evidence generation, AI is already transforming how we analyze clinical trials, electronic health records, and registries. They're turning this sort of static data into living insight. I think I just saw Microsoft sort of announce a partnership with Epic for the AI scribe notes. These in the clinic are really creating rich data sets for outcomes research in real time. I don't think we understand that notes are just not notes. Those are really outcomes research. In medical education, HCP engagement, we're really seeing that shift into highly customized, intelligent, and adaptive systems. Things are not linear anymore with AI. Mm-hmm. And I think the role in the next decade will be completely transformed. But it does require intentional leadership. We need leaders who understand the science, the systems, and the strategy. Because when AI is integrated really with purpose, not just deployed in silos, we really move from innovation to impact. But I really want to emphasize that AI is not the hero of the story. We are. AI is a tool, and its impact really entirely depends on how we choose to wield it. We'll see as newer generations enter the workforce that are going to be fluent in code and data. We're really witnessing a shift in problem solving that's as profound as the shift from analog to digital. So we're really shaping the revolution right now.
Very beautifully put. We are the hero. We are at the center stage, not AI, not those tools. Very, very nice. Now that you mentioned about it, I want to talk about real world examples of AI tools, especially those used in clinical and commercial functions. So, can you provide any specific example of AI tools that you built or you've been around or you worked with it in the pharma setting and what impact it had had on your work, on your environment, on your outcomes?
Oh, I could spend all day talking to you about this, Bertani. So my journey into AI didn't start with the buzzword. It started with a problem. And this was back in 2019. So this was before there was ChatGPT and sort of all of the craze around this, before AI was trending. I led a global medical affairs team to build a large language model solution, a medical insights tool that used natural language processing for sentiment analysis, machine learning to sort of generate and categorize the insights, and deep learning to transform the raw unstructured data, as you know, the way we receive this data, and turning it into something meaningful. It wasn't just about automation. It was truly building the generative AI capability through deep learning. It was about prediction, training this model in so much of our raw insights data, historically from the past to the present, and seeing these patterns emerge that humans couldn't see fast enough. But like I said, that was 2019. In 2020, AI wasn't part of the organizational vocabulary. I found myself invited to rooms with senior leaders who were so piqued in interest with this build, but couldn't yet speak the language of AI to scale it. And that's when I really realized something fundamental. You don't need to be an engineer to lead an AI, but if you can speak the language, you can build leverage. And that's when I really became a fierce advocate for AI literacy, not just for technologists, but for strategists, for clinicians and decision makers like ourselves. And I do have to say that before building this AI medical insights tool, I had already built many innovative digital solutions and frameworks that were sort of the stepping stones towards a natural evolution to building AI solutions. So that included external facing tools, patient tools, with which, if it's external facing, does have regulatory review to it. And it's categorized as a software as a medical device, and it falls under the FDA and EMA governance, which is a very rigorous process. And also with internal facing tools like building AI clinical scales for trials to sort of have an objective measurement for endpoints. It was really through a lot of these deep experimentation that I realized AI was just a natural evolution in the digital world. And I know I don't have a lot of time to go through all of the tools I developed, but I'll share that around 2018, I had built an internal digital tool. It was a podcast app for journal clubs, and that quickly scaled in the company to several therapeutic areas as soon as I launched it. And it was all organic growth. And seeing it take a large life of its own, I wondered why. Because when I reflected back, it was designed with experience in mind. Back then, 2018, podcasts were around, but the way people were creating or building, there were these just clunky audio files buried into the interwebs of SharePoint. And I thought, why not make it feel like Spotify for science? So I did. I sort of built a streaming app with storytelling, scalability, and plug and play infrastructure so other TAs could build easily. And this really taught me the importance of digital user experience that is so important when we think about building with AI. You could have an AI solution, it may not even solve the problem, but you can take an existing digital solution and make it better and solve a problem. So what I did here with this specific example was just make the solution more human. And I know if we start thinking about making AI more human, bringing the aspects of empathy and storytelling, I believe we really will unlock new levels of transformation, but most importantly, adoption. We will end with some fun things of building with AI this year. So before Copilot agents came into play in our company this year, I did build a prototype for an agent for protocol reviews. I didn't know at that time it was an agent, but after designing the agent and receiving all of sort of the appropriate endorsements and approvals, a few short months after that, Copilot released the research agent. And this is really how quickly things are turning and becoming obsolete in this AI revolution. But I continue to pivot with purpose. And so these days I've been having a blast creating many Copilot agents, such as those for protocol review or conducting literature searches or literature summaries. And I have many more ideas that I'm super excited about experimenting.
Yeah, this is great. So it's a very robust design framework, right? Is
Yes.
that correct? So I'm tempted to ask you, since you mentioned so much and you're so much deep neck into creating agents, what is the framework and principles applied for designing AI solutions in pharma? What has been your observation and experience?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I think there has to be framework and principles as we build this. It's, designing these solutions isn't just about what the technology can do. It's really understanding about why we're building it, how we build it, and who we build it for. So my approach has always started with like first principles thinking, define the problem, understand sort of the friction points, and resist that temptation to sort of jump straight into what the agent can do. You really have to ask, what's the real pain point we're solving for? And I think it's so fundamental that we tend to miss it a lot of times. As a clinical researcher, I'm sure you can relate to this. I do apply the framework method, which is like that structured theory-informed model used in trial design. I use it for AI development. It helps guide planning, implementation, and evaluation with scientific rigor. Because in pharma, we're not just building tools, we're really building that trust. And then we as builders really need to understand the institutional technology framework. What is the architecture you're working within? So AI solutions don't live just in isolation. They really need to integrate with the other systems and workflows, scale, and then comply also with governance. And that only happens when there is some sort of organizational readiness and senior leadership sponsorship. Without it, even the best ideas sort of stall. But here's where I think the magic happens. It's in the user design and experience. I'm obsessive about it. Whether it's sort of a dashboard, an agent, or sort of a digital tool. If it doesn't feel intuitive, it's not going to scale. I've learned this firsthand building the internal podcast, for example, as I shared, or the patient-facing tools. What really looks simple on the surface often requires this deep attention to design, to infrastructure, and really to human empathy as well. So I say, don't just build AI, build it with purpose, with precision, and with people in mind. That's how we move from experimentation to transformation.
I'm so glad you mentioned all these things. And the best thing was you mentioned about adoption. So, adoption, we both know, depends on trust and understanding clinical and the patient mindset and the attitudes will only help us implement, right? And march towards it. So, how do patients and oncologists perceive AI driven tools in clinical settings? Is the trust growing, or do you see rise in skepticism, or something in between? What has been your observation?
I love that you're asking this question, and I'm so glad that, and I just wish I yes more of it. Trust in AI and oncology is evolving, if I had to be completely honest. But it's just like all meaningful change. It's layered, it's nuanced, and it's deeply human. Among oncologists, there's still a healthy dose of skepticism, and rightly so. I think these are professionals making critical decisions impacting life, and they need to understand not just what an AI recommends, but really why. Many AI models still operate as black boxes, and when a system cannot explain itself, it's really hard to trust it, especially in cancer care. So I have come across studies that have shown that even when the AI tools offer accurate recommendations, clinicians still are hesitating if they can't really trace the logic of how the AI tool came up with the answer. I don't think that's resistance to adoption. I think it's responsibility. Um, there's also this issue of data, right? AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. And medical data, as you know, it is completely messy. It can be biased, it can be incomplete, often not representative of diverse populations. And so, for example, if a model you have is trained mostly on just one type of MRI machine or on one demographic group, it may falter in real world settings. That's why building equitable, interpretable AI isn't just sort of a technical challenge, it's a moral imperative. We're seeing promising efforts in bias correction and fairness algorithms, but I still do think we're still early in the journey. When I did see GPT-5 released, and there more work done towards reducing the hallucinations and the use of RAG to provide better accuracy. But again, we're still early in their journey. Patients, on the other hand, I think they're curious and increasingly empowered. Obviously, if they're a patient and haven't been well versed in the disease area, I don't know what they want to expect. They're not really sure if it's accurate, or they should be skeptics. But like I said, very curious. And I recently saw a breast cancer patient share how she used generative AI to navigate her care journey. That was when OpenAI demoed their GPT-5 release. And I feel that's a signal. It's a huge signal. As models like GPT-5 enter healthcare, patients are bringing sort of more AI into the exam room. And that means providers need to be ready, not just technically, but conversationally. I just don't think AI literacy is an option anymore. It's part of the therapeutic alliance. So just going back to your question, yes, there's skepticism, but there's also momentum. And the key to building trust isn't just better algorithms, right? It's better communication, it's better design, it's better leadership, thought leadership, coming up from oncologists or medical oncologists who use these tools and experimented with these tools with results. And so I think when we build AI with transparency, empathy, and scientific rigor, we don't just earn trust, we deserve it.
Yeah, couldn't have agreed more. Like you said, it's an ecosystem that every stakeholder contributes, not just the AI tool or not just the patient or not just the HCP. It's all of us. Beautiful. Um, since we're talking about AI and adoption, I know that AI in healthcare raises a lot of concerns around bias, transparency, data use, and accountability. And I've spoken about this in depth with Matt Lewis, with Dipanita Das. They have been guests in this platform earlier. And I cannot resist to ask you the same question because I know you have been firsthand in regulatory affairs. You're seeing it upfront. So my question is, what are the key ethical and regulatory challenges pharma companies face when deploying AI in oncology?
Yeah. Again, it's another very important question, as I've also built AI tools and gone through the governance reviews and approvals. I really do understand. I think deploying AI in oncology, in pharma, it's not just a technical endeavor. It's really a responsibility. And with
Mhm.
that comes a set of ethical and regulatory challenges that pharma must navigate with discernment and intention. First, there's that issue of medical accuracy and hallucinations. In a field where precision is paramount, AI must be held to the highest standard. A hallucinated output isn't just a glitch, it's a potential risk to patient safety. Then there's copyright, right? A challenge that's often underestimated. As AI models learn from these vast data sets, we must ensure what they generate respects intellectual property and their boundaries of fair use. From a regulatory standpoint, I think we're operating in a space that's still being defined and keeps getting refined a lot faster than we can actually keep track of. But liability is a major concern. If an AI makes a recommendation that leads to harm, who's accountable? Is it the physician? Is it the developer? Is it the institution? So without these very clear frameworks, adoption will continue to remain cautious. And technically, we face also infrastructure limitations. So not every clinic or company has sort of the computational power or cloud access needed to run AI tools in real time. And as medical practices sort of evolve, AI models must be retrained to stay relevant, introducing sort of a new layer to maintenance that healthcare isn't yet built out to support. So I agree with you. Ethically, transparency, consent, those are non negotiable.
Mhm.
Patients deserve to know when AI is part of their care. We must also ensure that AI enhances care, not replaces empathy or becomes a tool for sort of rationing. These challenges, though, I don't think they're roadblocks. They're just design constraints. And when we approach them with clarity, with curiosity and courage, I don't. We don't just build better tools. We build a better future.
So true. So true. And I think we both agree now that the field is evolving fast and there's no two ways about it. So now we are going to present the last question. So looking ahead, what's the one AI driven breakthrough in oncology you believe will redefine the field in the next decade?
Oh my God, this is so hard. As I think I shared those examples with you in earlier, so much is happening, and it's so vast. But I guess if I had to pick one, I would say precision oncology. And I think it only takes one breakthrough to sort of change the trajectory of the entire field. And we're witnessing a revolution unfold in real time. I also think that cancer screening will be redefined. So sorry, I'm picking like a second favorite here, but I think cancer screening also, AI is now detecting what the human eye might miss, subtle changes in sort of mammograms and lung scans and colonoscopies, catching cancer earlier when it's most treatable. And I think we all agree as a healthcare community, we see the most impact in patient outcomes when we catch cancer earlier. And with AI, in this AI revolution, I think we have a great opportunity. I do want to say, it reminds me of a study in 2023. There were researchers that sort of built an AI model that predicted pancreatic cancer risk using millions of patient records, identifying patterns even in unrelated symptoms, and then outperforming traditional genetic tests. So I think again, just another testament, and we keep seeing these, evidence come out of how accurate these are in diagnosis. But this isn't just innovation. I feel like it's transformation. It's the kind of leap that redefines really what's possible. So the future of oncology with AI is being built right now. It belongs to those who dare to imagine, experiment, and truly lead with purpose.
Very, very nice. Thank you, Apeksha, for taking the time out to talk to us. Thank you for bringing these stories, for these insights, and in such a conversational way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bertati. Thanks for having me. It's thrilled to be on your pod.
Yes. To my audience and viewers, I will say you heard our guest today. AI is not just a buzzword, but it is actively and truly shaping the future of cancer care. From the clinic, from the lab to the clinic, maybe in the form of a more smarter trial, clinical trial, or maybe in the form of a targeted therapy, or maybe in the form of a more stronger patient outcome. The impact is real and it is growing fast. With that, we come to the end of this session. Until next time, stay tuned, stay informed, and stay engaged.